Hello and welcome to another session of the My Solo 401k Financial My Community Daily Webinar Series. Thank you so much for joining. We're excited to get started today. We're going to jump right in with some of our content. As always, please like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. You can join us 24/7 on our community, mysolo401k.net/my community. You can post forums. You can check out our videos, our library. Check us out on YouTube so you can get all the notifications. We go live twice per day, once at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, again at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. So we're there's a lot of great super opportunities to engage, right? Ask questions, see what other people are asking. So you can always find the schedule at mysolo401k.net/webinar. So today we've come prepared with some great content. We want to talk about the differences between a solo 401k and a SEP IRA, and specifically why it's a no-brainer to sign up for a solo 401k over a SEP IRA if you're eligible. You'd be eligible if you're self-employed with no non-owner, non-spouse, full-time W-2 employees working for any business owned by you or a spouse, if any. So we'll talk about why it's a no-brainer here in a second and why it's a slam dunk to go with a solo 401k over a SEP IRA. But before we get into that, let's focus on some of the housekeeping. So as always, the presentation is being provided for educational purposes only. It should not be construed as tax advice, legal advice. We're not giving tax or legal advice. When making an investment decision, please consult with your tax attorney and financial professional. All right, so let's jump into it. We put together a blog. Let's take a look at that blog post here. And that's a good starting point. If you have questions or topics you want to discuss, this is always a live Q&A as well, so please don't hesitate to chat that over. So yes, why most self-employed professionals choose a solo 401k over a SEP IRA? Well, because it's a no-brainer. Why is it a no-brainer? Well, this is a great starting point, is because of the features of a solo 401k. So, and it goes back to why people want to sign up for a solo 401k. One of the top reasons is making contributions. A solo 401k has the highest contribution limits for any defined contribution plan available to self-employed individuals. Moreover, with a plan like ours, you can make multiple types of contributions. You can make pre-tax contributions if you're looking to reduce your taxable income now, or you can make Roth and or mega backdoor Roth contributions if you want to maximize the dollars going into a Roth account so you've got that potential for tax-free growth. So our plan allows for mega backdoor Roth contributions. Yes, Secure Act 2.0 allows for Roth contributions to a SEP IRA, but it's still limited to employer contributions. So it's still just going to be a percentage of your self-employment compensation. Whereas with our plan, you can make what are called voluntary after-tax contributions, where the limit is 100%. So you can contribute dollar for dollar your self-employment income as a after-tax contribution all the way up to the overall limit. For example, $69,000 for 2024, $70,000 for 2025, or even more if you're older than 50. So if you look at the bottom feature, easier to maximize contributions, that's what we mean by that, right? So you've always had the ability to make employer contributions to a solo 401k. That's the same type of contribution you can make to a SEP IRA. But the problem with employer contributions is it's a percentage of your compensation, whereas employee deferrals, voluntary after-tax contributions, which you can't make to a SEP IRA, those are going to be 100% of your self-employment compensation. For somebody who's behind on their retirement savings goals, the solo 401k is going to be a great vehicle to allow you to catch up. You don't need as much self-employment income to reach your savings goals and to reach the overall limits. So that's a huge difference, is the fact that when all those work in concert, right? The ability to make employee deferrals, the ability to make voluntary after-tax contributions, and that allows you to more quickly and easily maximize those contributions. So loan option. let's say you want access to funds on an emergency basis, or even not an emergency basis. You want to be your own bank and borrow from your retirement account. You can't do that from any type of IRA, whether it's a SEP, a Roth, a traditional. Can't do it. It'd be a taxable distribution. But if you have a plan like ours that allows for taking solo 401k participant loans, then you're going to be able to borrow up to 50% of the balance, not to exceed $50,000, and use the money for any purpose whatsoever. It's not going to be subject to taxes or penalties as long as it's properly documented as a loan and within those loan terms. We handle the loan documentation requirements as part of our service for no additional charge. The terms are that you could borrow up to 50% of the balance, not to exceed $50,000. Needs to be paid back in either monthly or quarterly payments, equal payments of principal and interest. The interest is going to be prime plus 1% or a CD rate plus 2%, with those payments spread over a 5-year term. Shifting gears, other reasons is the ability to invest in alternative investments. So yes, theoretically, you can have a SEP IRA that allows you to invest in alternative investments. I'm talking about true alternative investments like real estate, crypto, private placements, notes, etc. But you'd have to go to a specialty company, like a specialty trust company that offers self-directed IRAs, and ultimately they're still going to hold the money. Whereas the rules are different for a solo 401k. The self-employed individual, as the trustee of the plan, can have direct checkbook access to that bank account, to that brokerage account, which is going to allow them to quickly act on investment opportunities. So if you want to invest in alternative investments with checkbook control with a SEP IRA, you'd have to do it through an LLC. That's going to be more cost, more complexity, etc. With a solo 401k, with a plan like ours that allows for alternative investments, you're going to be able to quickly just and easily have a bank account, have a brokerage account where you can have quick access to the money and take advantage of investment opportunities. $1,500 automatic contribution tax credit. So our plan is going to make the self-employed business or individual eligible to claim $1,500 in solo 401k tax credits. It's $500 per year for 3 consecutive years. It's not available to a SEP IRA. Automatically available for all new customers, whether you're setting up a new plan with us or you're restating a plan from somewhere else to us. The plan is not going to be eligible for the tax credit. And you have the option to opt out of the default automatic contribution percentage that needs to be set as part of the feature to make the business eligible to claim the credit. Taking advantage of your right to opt out of the default doesn't mean that the business is no longer eligible to claim the credit. It still is. So for those reasons, virtually everyone who's eligible to set up a solo 401k is going to choose it over a SEP IRA. Here's a great example, just illustrating how you can contribute more easily or to reach those maximums with a solo 401k, right? You've got somebody, for example, who has, let's look at a real world example. So the person's under age 50, they're earning $100,000 in W-2 wages from their self-employed business tax as an S Corp. Let's assume they don't make contributions to another plan like a day job plan. So for 2025, they'd be able to contribute up to $23,500 as an employee, 25% as an employer, and then another $21,500, bringing their total contribution amount to $70,000 based on those $100,000 in W-2 wages to the solo 401k. Whereas with the SEP IRA, again, it's going to be limited to that employer contribution. So they're just going to be left with only being able to contribute $25,000 or 25% of their W-2 wages. So, and thank you so much for chatting over the questions. If there's more questions, please don't hesitate to chat those over. Let's see if we can take a look at some other slides here on this good topic of the SEP IRA versus the solo 401k. We've got a lot of other content on our website to really deep dive it, but we wanted to really just hit the quick hitters as far as why it's a no-brainer to choose a solo 401k over a SEP IRA. So, and we talked about with the mega backdoor Roth, right? Secure Act 2.0, there's a lot of hoopla about that, but really it was for our customers, they've always had the ability to make a mega backdoor Roth. And that's preferable for the reasons mentioned above than making employer contributions as Roth contributions. We talked about how less earned income is needed, right? And that goes back to the reasons we talked about, right? Because you got more contribution buckets you can fill up With the SEP IRA, you only can fill up the employer bucket, and that's a percentage, 25%, for example, in the case of a business tax as an S corp, 25% of your W-2 wages. So if you want to contribute a certain amount to the SEP IRA, you need 4 times that amount of W-2 wages, right? Because it's 25% of your W-2 wages that you can contribute. Whereas with the solo 401k, you got other buckets you can fill. You can fill the employee bucket if you haven't made contributions to another plan like a day job plan. You can fill the after-tax bucket. These are not buckets available to a SEP IRA. And those buckets can be filled, the employee bucket, the after-tax bucket, at 100% of your income rate. So even if you've got $50,000 of W-2 wages, you're going to be able to make $50,000 in contributions across all 3 buckets. Whereas with the SEP IRA, you're just going to be limited to the 25%. So that's a huge reason. We talked about the example. We went through a good example there just to illustrate it. Talked about the loans, right? So access to emergency funds. Reason 3, that's a great example. So circling back to alternative investments, or we talked about the advantage of a solo 401k over a SEP IRA in terms of having direct checkbook access, right? With a SEP IRA, you need to have an LLC underneath your SEP IRA if you want to have that direct checkbook access. Whereas with the solo 401k, the self-employed person is the trustee of the plan. They can have direct checkbook access to the bank account or the brokerage account that's open for the solo 401k. And now they can act quickly to take advantage of investment opportunities. But to dig deeper on that, let's assume the person wants to invest in real estate. That's a classic use case, right? They want to buy real estate with their solo 401k versus buying real estate with a self-directed IRA, such as a self-directed SEP IRA. Let's assume they want to leverage their investment. So they want to use debt along with their 401k funds or their SEP IRA funds to make a real estate investment. So that can be done. It's a special type of debt called non-recourse financing, which is going to be priced differently in the market, right? Because there's a limited number of providers. The only recourse of the lender, since it's non-recourse, is the property itself. So typically, for example, they're going to want about 50% down just to kind of put some meat on the bones there. The issue from a compliance perspective, though, when we're comparing making that investment via an IRA, like a SEP IRA, versus making that investment via solo 401k, is that if you make a investment in real estate using your SEP IRA funds where it's subject to acquisition indebtedness. So you combine your IRA funds with non-recourse financing to make an investment in a real estate property, the income attributable to that investment is going to be subject to UDFI, unrelated debt finance income tax. And those tax rates are the trust tax rates, so they can be pretty high. So that's going to reduce the return on your investment because now your IRA is going to have to give some of that return back, right, in the form of paying that tax. Whereas if someone were to make the same investment via solo 401k, there's an exception to that UDFI tax with respect to income attributable to debt finance real estate in your solo 401k. So the solo 401k wouldn't have to pay the tax. So for someone that's in that space looking to make that type of investment, that's a huge difference. Talked about the tax credit. It's a dollar for dollar reduction in your tax liability. So this is, again, no brainer. It's going to more than cover our fees for the first 7 years, right? Because we charge $650. It's the initial cost, includes the $525 establishment fee, plus the first $125 annual fee. Then going forward, we charge $125 a year. It's on the anniversary date. So if you start in January this year, the $125 fee is going to be due next January. So if you added up all those fees over 7 years, it's going to be less than $1,500. So that $1,500 in tax credits is going to more than cover our fees for the first 7 years. Again, you can opt out of the default amount and still be eligible to claim the credit. Just because you exercise your option to do so doesn't mean you lose the ability to claim the credit. And we provide tremendous resources. For example, we hosted a deep dive webinar with an IRS enrolled agent that goes through step by step what needs to be done to claim the credit. It's a good illustration of how it works, right? So if you sign up now or you upgraded a existing solo 401k plan from somewhere else now in 2025, you'll be able to start claiming the credit the $500 credit for 2025, and then again for 2 more years, as long as you maintain the plan with the automatic contribution feature. All right, so we want to get to these great questions that you're bringing. Appreciate you taking the time to join. Let's start to go through the questions. And yeah, please like, please subscribe if you're on YouTube. All right, 1 second, please. We generally try to focus on educational content that's good for the whole community, but I appreciate you joining here. We're going to flag your account, follow up afterwards. Let me just flag it real quick. Thank you so much for joining, as mentioned. I'm referring to that question from Rob. Thank you, Rob. So we'll follow up afterwards here. All right. So we get to the next question now. We flagged this one. We'll come back to it. Okay, 1 second. All right, thanks so much. Just want to flag that from Rob. I'd like to ask if it's better to contribute $23,000 as an employee plus $46,000 as a voluntary after tax, or just skip the employee category entirely and just pay the $69,000 as a voluntary after tax. Well, if your goal is to transfer the money to a Roth IRA, yes, because if you make a Roth employee contribution, you'd have to meet a triggering event before you could transfer the funds out of the solo 401k to a Roth IRA. Otherwise, if the goal is to keep it into the Roth solo 401k account, it's really neutral. So it's a wash. There's no real reason one way or the other to do it. But that would be the reason if your goal is to transfer it to a Roth IRA, because you can transfer after-tax funds out with no triggering event required. Whereas if you put money into that Roth account, again, you'd have to meet a triggering event, such as being age 59 and a half or older before you could transfer the funds out of the solo 401k to a Roth IRA. Next question. I have a 1099 job. Can I contribute $3,000 every month to the after-tax solo 401k, convert to Roth on the same time every month? Yes, assuming you have the income to justify the contribution. You can fill out the form each time, or you can summarize it at the end. We'll take it either way. Just make sure you give it to us. What is the link for comparison? Good question. Thank you so much. Let's see here. It's right on our blog. FYI, it's our latest blog. But let me chat it over here. And of course, it's not the only link. We got a lot of good resources on our website. And you can go to our AI too. That's another place to quickly find resources. Solo401k.ai. We're the first provider in the industry to offer us an AI. We work hard to train that AI. Can you discuss how the account set up for the Solo 401k works? Do you need bank and brokerage accounts? Or could you set up a CMA account with Fidelity, for example, to handle all types of investments? It would be a non-prototype account or an investment-only account at Fidelity. But you don't have to have bank and brokerage. It could be both, though. That's fine. Or it could be one or the other. Or you could start with one and then add another. The key is that you have accounts opened up under the name and EIN number of the plan with separate accounts if you're going to have different types of funds, such as pre-tax versus Roth versus after-tax. So if you're only looking to make after-tax contributions and transfer them to a Roth IRA, and you're not going to have other types of funds in the plan, then you could just have an after-tax account. But you could always add it later. I mean, that's the great thing. I mean, our plan documents, which is really the plan, allows for it all. And it's built to accommodate it all. You don't have to use it all at the beginning, but you could always add it later. Yes, setting up a plan is a business expense. Well, I mean, we've been growing year after year. We've gone through multiple recessions. We've always grown. There's certainly no plans, but the good news is in the super rare event that something were to happen, we're not holding our customers' money. We're not providing investment advice. There's a robust process for people to switch plan providers. I mean, we have people every single day that have an existing plan that are converting to our plan. The process is called a restatement. So the individual would have time. What they would have to do is find a new provider that offers a plan that accommodates what they want to do, but they'd have time to find the new provider. So it's not going to be a problem. But good question. It's a natural question. I appreciate it. Is a Roth 401k worse than a Roth IRA? I mean, they're just different. I mean, it depends on what individuals' objectives are, et cetera. A lot of individuals will want to keep those after-tax funds in the solo 401k, in the Roth solo 401k, because they want to invest in alternative investments. It's kind of like the solo 401k versus SEP IRA discussion, right? I mean, our plan certainly allows for alternative investments. Whereas if you wanted to invest in alternative investments through a Roth IRA, you'd have to have a specialty provider. If you want to have checkbook control, you'd have to have an LLC underneath it. If you want to take a loan, that's another reason that folks will keep the money in the plan, or they think they might want to take a loan, they'll keep it in the plan. So those are some of the top reasons. And then things have equalized, right? I mean, there's no RMDs that apply to Roth 401ks anymore, just like there haven't been before RMDs that apply, required minimum distributions that apply to a Roth IRA. All right, great questions. Thank you so much for the great participation. Looks like we come to the end for today. Please continue to participate. You can join our webinars twice per day at mysolo401k.net/webinar. Let's say I have the 401k account set up at Fidelity to contribute. Can I just transfer the 69? Yes, you could just do it just like that. It can come from a non-retirement brokerage account at Fidelity. Yes, people do it every single day. So it's going to be the same application on our website. You'll see there's a question that asks whether you have an existing plan. You're going to say yes, solo 401k at Fidelity, enter the original effective date, which you can find in the adoption agreement, or you can send them a secure message, because we'll need to draft the documents as a restatement. So when we draft them, that means that we're going to relate the original effective date. We're going to relate back to that original effective date and then have a restatement date in the documents as well. So second question, if my underlying entity changes, then the plan documents would be updated, because originally they would be drafted to be sponsored by you as a sole proprietor. And it's super common that individuals will change the entity through which they operate their business. So now let's say it's operated via an LLC. You wouldn't have to change the accounts, the investments. It would be a document change. So customers just let us know, and then we got them through the process to update the documents. You cannot, because under the Roth IRA rules, you can't transfer money from a Roth IRA to any type of 401k, including a solo 401k. No, folks want to move it from the after-tax account either to a Roth 401k or a Roth IRA. Why? Because if there are gains in that after-tax account, those will be taxable. But if you move it to the Roth 401k or the Roth IRA, now the gains will be potentially tax-free. In other words, when you take it out of the Roth 401k or Roth IRA, if you take the gains out as a qualified Roth distribution, they'll be tax-free. So you want to move it to one or the other. Yes, you'd have an opportunity to list your spouse. That's one of the questions on the application. All right, you guys have been great. Thank you so much for all the good participation. Please continue to participate. We appreciate all the engagement. Of course, we love to talk about these topics. Exactly. If you followed our process to open up different accounts at Fidelity and you nickname one after tax and the other one Roth, just use it consistently as such. So you can move the after tax contribution over to that Roth account, then go on our website, mysolo401k.net/forms, submit the online form to let us know about that move so we can capture the information needed for the 1099-R, because when you move it from the after tax to the Roth, it needs to be reported on a 1099-R. Not contributions. The Roth IRA rules follow the ordering rules, where you first take out the basis, meaning the contributions, the money you contributed, and you can take that out at any time, and it's not subject to taxes because you already paid taxes on it since it was after-tax money. Those are the rules that apply to our Roth IRA, FYI. You move the money to the Roth, then fill in the form on our website. So it's reverse 2 and 3. Well, we live and breathe it every single day, but we do appreciate the opportunities to discuss it. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining. That's why we like to be available on our these webinars. So please feel free to share that we'd host these webinars with anyone else that might be interested. As well as mentioned, we appreciate the opportunity to discuss. If someone has a question, it's very likely that someone else might have that same question. So all questions are good questions is essentially the philosophy. It's at mysolo401k.net/forms. So you're going to want to choose the one that says after tax to Roth Solo 401k, because that's what you did. You moved it from the after tax account to the Roth Solo 401k account. All right. Well, another great session, everyone. Thank you so much.